So contenders versus pretenders, and I picked out the 7 teams for the AFC and the 7 teams for the NFC. If the playoffs ended right here today, that's what I picked out. Okay, we're gonna grab a couple more that are sitting right there on the outskirts of the playoff picture. But we're gonna focus on the 7 plus a couple of additionals, because especially with the AFC, it feels like everyone's like 7-7 or like right there, like pushing for the Colts. So we're gonna go ahead and take a look at the playoff picture. What do we want to start, AFC or NFC?
Let's start with the AFC. I think it's a little more exciting because I actually think they have more contenders to get to the Super Bowl this year than the NFC does. So
AFC. All right. So AFC, and just letting anyone who watches this know, or whoever's watching the clip, I'm forcing at least two or three contenders. You have to pick 3 contenders. How about that? Are we okay with that? 3 contenders per conference. Okay.
easy
So let's just start with the first one. Ravens.
contenders.
Yeah, and I don't think anyone's going to argue with that. It's the number 1 seed, clinch playoff berth. It's not close. Contenders, absolutely. Now the Dolphins.
Contenders.
Contenders.
I disagree.
I think the Dolphins are pretenders. If you look at the record for the Dolphins, you look at who they've beaten and you've looked at who they've lost to, it's not all that impressive. I'm not worried about the Dolphins, especially with some of the injuries coming down the line too. It's the end of the season. Tyreek Hill starting to get banged up. Obviously, you lose Jalen Phillips a couple of weeks ago. I'm not a massive believer of Tua. I think he's great. I think he's good, but I'm not a massive believer in him to win you football games because of him. Now, if we're talking about maybe last year, pre-head injuries, Tua on that couple of week tear, then maybe we can have a different conversation. But I'm not huge believers in the 2 seed Chiefs the 2 seed Dolphins right now.
Personally, I think the Dolphins can go into a playoff game with 40 touches between their 2 running backs, and Tua doesn't have to throw the ball more than 5 yards down the field, and they can put up 35 on any team out there. So
yeah,
I'm also a big fan. Obviously, big surprise here. I love Mike McDaniel. So
yep. And I think that with one of my contenders that I have, it comes down to coaching as well.
And we're probably going to differ here again. So I'm excited because this is I'm surprised with what you picked there, but let's keep it rolling.
And the 3rd seed is currently the Chiefs.
Chiefs are big time pretenders, bro.
And I think because of the players that are commanding the rock, I think I'm not going to count out Patrick Mahomes, and I'm going to call them contenders until I see different.
They haven't beat nobody.
I know, but I can't count them out. I just can't. I can't bring myself to say that Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid can't win a football game.
They've beat the Packers, Bears, Jets, Vikings, Broncos, Chargers, Dolphins, okay, Raiders, Patriots. They beat the Dolphins. All their wins. And the teams they've lost to the Lions, legit team. They've lost to the Eagles, semi-legit team. Nah.
Yeah.
Pretenders.
Well, and a lot of the teams that they've lost to also, but are like close games. It's not like they're getting blown out.
The nature of the award, though, Patrick Mahomes is the MVP this year, because without him on that team, they have 0 wins. So, yeah. I mean, I look at this as the teams that scare me, and that's how I'm going to judge this off of how they scare my team. Please feed me the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, because I need that one back so bad. We would feast on that team. We would feast. Travis Kelce can't do it to Fred Warner anymore. He's too old, and
right.
God, Kadarius Toney, I don't know how they haven't cut that dude yet. Anyways, pretenders.
4th seed Jaguars.
I only have 1 contender and 2 pretenders. Pretenders.
Yeah, pretenders. That's also mine too. The 5th seed Browns.
Pretenders. They don't have a quarterback. Oh, Joe Flacco is elite. Oh, no. Their defense is so good. Can they make it to the Super Bowl?
I legitimately have Browns typed out here. Browns - contenders.
What if they play the Ravens in the AFC Championship. Joe Flacco goes home to Baltimore. Oh my gosh. You got the number for the NFL script writers. You got the, oh my goodness. Cause we already got screwed in the other league that we didn't get the Kings and the Pacers in the in-season tournament final.
Mm-hmm.
We got to get Flacco going to Baltimore.
I think that with
Flacco.
early coach of the year super quick talk. To me, there's two people who are coach of the year. One is DeMeco Ryans, and the second one is the Browns head coach. That's it. For the fact that the Browns week in and week out either have mediocre quarterback play. I don't care if you have Deshaun Watson. Watson's a bag of ass. He sucks. So week after week, you have mediocre quarterback play, whether it's from Deshaun Watson or it's from somebody else stepping in. And then you're missing pieces from the secondary because of injuries, and you have to constantly overcome injuries all around on the team, and you still find a way to win against actual contenders too. I gotta say, because of the coaching and because of the pieces in play, because of how they've dealt with adversity and the people that they've beaten, I gotta put contenders. I got to.
You know what, man? The damn Browns already beat us this year, so I know what that defense can do, especially if it's a little rainy out there.
Mm-hmm.
I think the coach of the year side topic is I hate that award because it's always some team that was trash last year that's doing really good this year, as opposed to, hey, how about the guy that took Mr. Irrelevant to the MVP? Like that's a hell of a coaching job. Dak looked like a tomato last year, and Mike McCarthy has made him into an MVP candidate. That's a head coach of the year, but we'll set that aside because they're never going to give those two guys the head coach of the year. And
it almost feels like it's comeback team of the year is almost it feels like
100%. That's exactly what it is. Or surprise, they're actually good this year. Give it to the Lions if you want.
Right.
So
now we have the 6 seed Bengals.
Pretenders.
Yeah, pretenders.
That's my boy. That's my boy.
I thought maybe for a minute that you would let it get to you for a second.
Hey, and did you watch their game?
I did, yeah. I did.
The problem is they beat Nick Mullins. My guy, Nick Mullins. I enjoyed that game.
49ers legend.
49ers, NFL legend, like most passing yards for the first 15 games, start a career, NFL legend. But yeah, the problem with the Bengals is they got the Chiefs coming up. I believe they play the Browns coming up. I think they play the Steelers one more time. So that's not good for them. Pretenders.
And then you have the last of the playoff teams currently, which is the Colts.
Damn. I have a contender that's not even in the top 7. That's crazy. Colts are pretenders for sure. Shane Steichen's an awesome coach. He has I think he gets some consideration for the Coach of the Year award also, especially if they win a couple more games. But Gardner, Minshew mania, we're not gonna go down that line. Doing a quick look here, they have the Falcons, the Raiders, and the Texans. Well, hell, they might finish 11-6. I still don't think that makes them contenders in the playoffs. But if they finish 11-6, I think you might have to give Steichen the award too. Man,
yeah.
Lots of good stuff this year out of these teams.
Then you have the outside looking in. You got a couple of teams. Let's talk about the two teams that I actually have a positive record. So the Texans are 8-6. They're the 8th seed currently. And the reason why they're the 8th seed over the Bills because they have the record tiebreaker over the win in the conference. Mm-hmm. So contenders or pretenders, Texans.
Pretenders.
And then on top of that, they're probably
I like everything they're doing. They're a year ahead of schedule, and that's just fine.
Yep.
They don't have to make the playoffs this year. And, it sucks for the fans if they finish with a winning record, they don't make the playoffs, but that just shows you that you got to go out next year and get better. And it would kind of suck for the Texans also if they did make the playoffs this year and got bounced in the first round, and then the ownership sat back and the front office sat back and said, "Oh, we're good." No, go get yourself one more playmaker. You need one more playmaker, add a couple more pieces to that defense, and then let DeMeco cook.
And then I'm guessing this next one is your last contender. Bills 8-6.
I believe in any team that can beat the brakes off the Cowboys. Any team. Cowboys are a great team.
Yeah.
No, Cowboys are a very good team. They only lose to great teams. So,
and obviously,
by
unfortunately,
that math,
I'm going to have to agree, unfortunately.
That was embarrassing, man. And that just shows what the Bills can do if they get to the playoffs. Now, up and down, fired an offensive coordinator, head coach might be on the hot seat, et cetera, et cetera. But when you have a quarterback that's an elite level talent, and you have an elite level talent at wide receiver, which is crazy because they didn't even throw the ball, but a few times they just ran all over the place. Um, I'm much more worried about Josh Allen lowering his shoulder and Stephon Diggs going nuts in the Super Bowl than I'm worried about anything the Chiefs can bring to the table. So to me, that's a massive time contender because it's a team that, based off of what they've done this year and what they did last week, would frighten me in the Super Bowl.
Okay, and then moving over to the other side of the coin, the NFC first seed 49ers, contenders or pretenders?
Pretenders.
Yeah, I think they're also pretenders. They're fake. No, best team in the NFL. Again, unfortunately. And I don't think it's particularly close, especially when they've already gone out and they've played the Cowboys and they've played Philly. So the two teams that are most likely to meet them and the conference championship, and they've beat both of them. And then on top of that, they're going to get tested one more time with a potential Super Bowl preview on Christmas. I mean, contenders regardless of what happens. But if they beat the Ravens, we can go ahead and just tie a little bow on it and set it to the side for right now.
Well, the fact of the matter is when completely healthy, they haven't lost a game this year. So until they do, if they drop it to the Ravens, we can open up that discussion, which I'm willing to do. Obviously. But until they lose a game at full strength, now, hey, you know what? If injuries happen in the last week or the first week of the playoffs, then things change, and that'll suck. Sometimes your elbow blows out and you have to hand off the ball the rest of the game. So if injuries happen, we'll reconsider it. But for now, that's the number one contender in the NFL, in my opinion.
And then second seed
Bang,
Cowboys.
bang. The Cowboys are definite contenders. I don't think that the 49ers can play the Cowboys every year and just keep kicking their ass. At some point, same thing with the Rams. Like, we just keep destroying the Rams. Like, eventually, Sean McVay's a hell of a coach. Matt Stafford's a hell of a quarterback. Eventually, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, they got to get us, right? You guys have so much talent. Like, at some point, and then earlier this year, man, you guys look like you were like, they did the hey, can the number one team in college football beat this team? No, they can't. That was terrible. We sat there that whole fourth quarter in the stands, just sitting there like, well, this kind of sucks. I didn't think it sucked, but yeah, no, I think they're contenders. And the thing about the 49ers Cowboys playoff is home field really doesn't matter. 49ers fans travel well. If we're in Dallas, 49ers fans are going to be there. Dallas fans travel really well. If we're in San Francisco, Dallas fans are going to be there. Home field advantage doesn't matter too much for that game. It's going to be 60 or 70 degrees wherever the play that happens. So to me, contenders.
And I've already mentioned I'm a pessimist with my own team. And just as a background, looking at typing up show notes and that sort of thing for the podcast, when I'm typing out contenders or pretenders for some of these teams, I ended up only writing contenders for two teams initially. And this is why I said that I'm forcing us to do 3 for each conference. For the viewers at home, I said the Niners initially and the Ravens were the only 2 contenders in the NFL. And then I sat back and I said, I gotta put a couple more and not be such a pessimist. Yeah, Cowboys are contenders. I do agree. It as the pain of a Cowboys fan, I want to say pretenders because that's what it felt like my entire life. But contenders for now. And then we have the third seed Lions. Go ahead, say it.
If you asked me, hey, Drew, 49ers are hosting a playoff game. You want to play against the Eagles or you want to play against the Lions? I'd say, give me the Eagles. And not because we just beat them, but there's talent on that Detroit Lions team that I do not like. And I have watched Jared Goff operate at a really high level against my team. So I'm going to go with contenders because anytime you have a talent on offense, the speed that the Lions do, it's the same thing with the Dolphins. I mean, it doesn't matter how solid your technique is. If you misstep one place, Amon-Ra is gone. Jameson is gone. They just have the talent on that team. Now, I don't think their defense is that great, and they've dropped some stinkers, but that's what happens with teams that are brand new to the elite level of the NFL, they don't come out prepared for every week. Some of your battle hardened teams do. They know that they can't drop a game. And the Detroit Lions, I mean, they lost to the Bears just like a week or two ago.
Yeah.
But, if you go back and look at their games, they've scored 40 points 3 times this year. They've scored in the high 30s a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
That's a team that can put up offense, and that makes me a little nervous. So I'm going to say Contenders.
I'm going to disagree. And I like the Lions, and I want to root for the Lions as much as possible. But unfortunately, I see them as pretenders because yes, the weapons that they have on offense are incredibly impressive, whether it's from passing the ball, running the ball. But I also find myself looking at the teams the same way that you do. Would I rather play the Lions or the Eagles? I would much rather play the Lions, if I'm being honest. I know that we can put up 40 points a game. So it really doesn't bug me too much. And I know our defense is good enough to stop it. And I know that we have the players to run with it. It's just about obviously putting it all together. So to me, the Lions are pretenders.
If you look at the NFL teams as stocks, which is how I like to do these talks, last year the Lions almost made the playoffs. They came down the line and they won a bunch of games, and it was that game between them and the Packers at the end there, and who was going to make it, who was going to be in and out. And now this year they've taken another level. I think the Lions are trending up. Now, obviously, they got a big question, in my opinion, at quarterback. He's good, but he's not elite. To me, the Eagles I think they're trending down. I think they got lucky last year in the playoffs. I mean, you KO the opposing team's quarterback. I wouldn't say that's lucky. That's defense and that's football. But they got lucky. We've seen this game already now, and
Yep.
I just think that the Eagles are trending down and the Lions are trending up, and that's okay that we disagree on that because the Lions aren't winning anything special this year. But I would much rather see I'd much rather see the Saints in the NFC Championship game than the Lions. The Lions scare me a little bit. They got the team to score.
Yeah. And then we have the 4th seed Bucks.
Pretenders. I don't even
pretenders.
know. They're the 4th seed for no other reason except for the fact that they're in charge of their lackluster division.
Lackluster is definitely a way to put it. And then Philly owning the 5th seed.
I'm at 3 contenders, and I have another one. So I'm going to say Philly is pretender. I think there's 3 or 4 teams in the playoffs this year that could beat Philly. So especially if they don't win their division. The whole point of Philly is like, damn, you got to go to Philly. If they got to go to you, look what happened last night. Yeah.
I'm going to say Contenders until next week rolls around. My opinion might be flip-flopped on the Lions and Philly if I'm picking 3. So Lions might be contenders and Philly might be pretenders by the time next week rolls around.
Fair enough.
And then 6th seed Vikings.
Pretenders. I love Nick Mullins, but not enough to win a playoff game. I don't even think the Vikings are contenders to win a playoff game. Same thing with the Bucks. They're not winning a playoff game. Sorry, Mike Evans, you're a baller, but it ain't happening.
7th seed Rams.
Contenders.
Wow.
Contenders.
Okay.
That's a very dormant, good football team. They got really good wide receivers. That young running back is killing it. Stafford is a GOAT.
Mm-hmm.
And the defense, man, they got Aaron Donald, bro. Like, I know he hasn't been crazy this year, but I mean, you can't see. I mean, it wouldn't happen this way, but let's just take the standings out of it for a second. You can't see the Philadelphia Eagles having to go to the Rams on that turf and the Stafford and Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp just lighting them up. You can't see them beating. What if they have to go to Tampa? They'll beat Tampa.
Yeah, they will.
What if they can't beat Detroit? Why not?
Yeah, in my opinion, they're like landlocked at the divisional. I think that's where they can win a game. I don't think they're winning a second one. I think the trash is going to get weeded out in the wild card, and I don't think that they're going to make it past that.
To me, it always comes down to coaching. To me, when things are close to even, it comes down to coaching. Now, I think my
Right.
team has a top 3 NFL head coach and a top 2 roster, and so I don't have to worry about those things. But when I think about them beating Nick Sirianni, I think it can happen. When I think about them beating the Bucks, I think it can happen, and I think that they can beat. I think they can beat the Lions. So nobody can beat the 49ers. They should win the Super Bowl. If we're
Mm-hmm.
betting right now, if we're betting teams, they win the Super Bowl. Nobody beats them. Nobody really
Right.
beats the Cowboys except for the 2 teams in the league that are better than them. And the thing is Buffalo is one of those weird teams that their record is not their talent. Throw their record out. At the beginning of the season, if I said, "Hey Jacob, the Buffalo Bills beat you guys," you'd be like, "Yeah, makes sense."
Yeah, and I'm not gonna complain about that. I mean, again, I'm 2 for 2 so far in the predictions on the rest of the Cowboys schedule. So I said we beat Philly, and I said we'd lose to the Rams. Now we'll see if we go 3 for 3 when I said that we'd beat Miami.
Didn't you say you'd lose to the Commanders?
Yep, I did.
That's going to be a bad look for you guys because we play them also. So if we go out there and smash them and then you drop a stinker to them, people are going to be hating on you. Good thing the
Yeah,
fans'
they
opinions
will,
don't
but
matter. It's just
it's
discourse.
it's just divisional games in my opinion, though. Especially in our division, I feel like there's a lot. I mean, you guys have the same thing, right? You had games in the past with like shit teams like the Cardinals, and you'd have close games with them in the past. And it's like,
Cardinals
why
have
would you have,
dominated us in previous years.
and it's like, why would you have? I mean, what was that you guys, or was that with the Seahawks where there was like that? What was it, 6-9 game or whatever a couple of years ago? It was just field goal after field goal, and it's just
Mm-hmm.
boring as hell on like Thursday night football. I mean, it's divisions, and sometimes it's hard to remember that because there are some division I don't put a lot of stock in the divisional games, like our division. I don't put a ton of stock in the Browns, Bengals, Steelers, Ravens divisional games because they're super competitive. So I mean, I put a lot of stock in like the NFC. What is that? The NFC North, right? So Saints, Falcons, Panthers. I put stock in those ones because they all suck ass and they're not super competitive and they don't really give a shit about each other. But it feels like when we play division games, when you guys play division games, when some of those AFC divisions play those division games, it's turned up a whole nother level. And then there's 2 other teams that have an even 500 record. The Seahawks and the Saints are either one of those contenders.
No.
Yeah, and I agree 100%. I don't think either one of them can sniff it in my